Okay, it's 12 noon already. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's such an honor to have us join this live today. Please, if you can, I would like you to just put in the chat box where you are joining in from. My name is Peace, and I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. I know there are some persons joining in from different parts of the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to start by saying,
I don't know. I just get called. I tried to call one or two people.
okay.
I call my mother. I want to work for far come here. Man, see, because I don't feel here forever now. That's
So if you are
Christy, you bite my eye.
But you've been begging her for too long. Maybe you should just try.
Okay, hello, I can see. Okay, joining me. All right, I can see some persons already responding from the chat room. We have Tommy joining in from the UK. We have Bridget joining from Lagos. Bridget is one of our speakers for today. I see Nadi already. Welcome. Sending love from Lagos, Nigeria. Over to you. Kindly let me know if you can hear me clearly. You're welcome, everyone. Okay, so my name is Peace E. Ekele, the Media and Communications Head in Morimbo Down Syndrome Foundation, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. I would like to specially thank each and every one of us present. It's such an awesome feeling to know that there are persons that are actively willing to learn about Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities, people that are actively willing to also support the cause. So yes, going forward, I would like to also mention that Morimbo Down Syndrome Foundation clocked 10 years this year, 2024, and we're also celebrating 10 years, a decade of transformation. So yes, I would like you all to sit back, relax. It's about to be a really engaging and exciting webinar. It's a webinar like you've never seen before. Our guests speakers are around already. I see Mrs. Roslyn Adekunle and our guests, appearance. Patience, hello, Patience, say hello. Kindly unmute and say hello, please. Okay, can we see her? I think I should pin her so that we can. Yes, she's here. Hi. From the United States. Hi, nice to meet you. We have. Yes, we also have Mrs. Tola Makinde here. She's the Executive Director of Morimbo Down Syndrome Foundation. So we are moving right into the session for today. We are moving right into the first session for today, and I'll be reading the bio of the first speaker, and then we progress from there. Please sit back, relax. You should get some water, snack, any drink, because today, in Nigerian local parlance, we say today not today. So please, let's get ready to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay. All right. I'll be reading the bio of the first speaker. As I read her speaker and I introduce her, I would like us to appreciate her in the comments box, celebrating her. She has taken her time to lend value to us this afternoon. So Roslyn Adekunle has been a pediatric nurse for 20 years. She's a director of nursing at a company that has many group homes of young adults born with Down syndrome and autism. when there was a shortage of workers due to COVID pandemic, the agency in charge of her daughter that patient's care had to recruit her as a direct care provider. Having been working with her daughter for 4 years, last year, Mrs. Adekunle decided to open her own agency in order to have more time to advocate for young adults around her daughter's age. On the 9th of January 2024, Crowning Comfort LLC was participate in Medicaid funded programs in the state of Pennsylvania to assist mainly individuals with intellectual disability to achieve their aims of gaining independence. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Mrs. Roselyn Adekunle. Please, I would need to see your virtual claps. Welcome her. Welcome, ma. Mrs. Roselyn is right here in the chat room and she's ready to speak on a very important topic titled the employability of persons with Down syndrome. You're welcome, ma.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good morning. It's 7 a.m. here, US time. And I am happy. Our diva here woke up. This is not our usual time, but you know, as our children are used to routine, and every Saturday she's used to waking up at 10, but we thank God. We thank God she's able to wake up on time. So a little bit of applause for her. I'll be talking about breaking barriers, employability of individuals with intellectual disability. Let me seize this opportunity to commend and appreciate More Rainbow Foundation, its visionary leader and tireless workers for being at the vanguard of spirited efforts to ensure equality, fairness, justice, and enabling atmosphere for individuals with Down syndrome in Nigeria. Kudos to a well job done. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon in UK and Nigeria. I used to ask myself how redundant the progress of our society would have been without the immense contributions of our dear ones with Down syndrome and other population with intellectual disability to the social, economic, and overall development of our world. At this juncture, with a standing ovation and a well-deserved applause, join me in celebrating the celebrants, the esteemed community of Down syndrome, globally, the world over, and especially the students, the staff of More Rainbow Down syndrome, who are turning Big 10 this year. I think faith played a very important role in making our cross path. I can tell a little bit story, but maybe in 10 more years, we tell that story, how we crossed our path. But it's good to be good. We cross paths on this word called internet, you know? I just saw a foundation and I think I just paid into it and that's how we got involved. And that's how I actually got involved. And she's very, very, she noticed me and we started talking. All right, now let's get into it. Yes, these people really deserve to be celebrated. They are the special ones. So we have to celebrate these heroes and heroines among us. Let's give a thumbs up for our silent achievers. If there is any community of well-meaning people that we should never relents in celebrating the other ones, and I mean the individuals with intellectual disability. And why? Why do we have to celebrate them all the time? They have weathered the storm of stigmatization, discrimination on every areas, stereotypes, barriers, and yet they are still standing strongly on their feet like the great warriors that they are. Why not, if not? Why are we celebrating this resilient, diehard, and unrepentant spirit of we can do it in the face of a cross-section of the world which myopically and selfishly believe that these people can't? But here we are proving, they are always proving us wrong. Kindly note, today I'll be speaking to you from the background of over 2 decades of my experience as the mother of these beautiful patients, Omotolani Adekunle, a 25-year-old born with Down syndrome, who today is just not a beacon of hope for our teeming colleagues out there, but a shining light to the parents and guardians globally, that there is ability in disability. My dearest patients, who is also a fellow speaker in this webinar, has cut her teeth and still carving a niche as a strong advocate of equal rights for herself and her teaming colleagues in every facet of humanity. She is an athlete that has more than 40 gold and silver medals to her credit in Special Olympics. This she has collected over the years, of course. This year, she actually did 1,500 meter unified, which means she competed with quote and unquote regular people. My daughter, who started dancing before she could walk, but the world around her would not let me enroll her formally in a ballet class, simply because she did not look like a regular ballet girl. The dancing school told me she's not allowed to attend. Hence, that's where the rejection started. It started at age 5 years old. It's actually probably started before then, but that's when she probably would have noticed it. But my strong, resilient girl started teaching herself how to choreograph music by herself on YouTube. And before you knew it, we started going to churches to minister. And we've even been to some university campus to minister. Today, our dancing diva here has over 60 million viewers on TikTok. Today, we're not going to talk about our dancing. We are going to speak about employability of individuals with individual disability, with individuals with intellectual disability. Let me declare from the onset that the anxiety I had 25 years ago, coupled with the state of helplessness in which I found myself, thank God, I know the generations coming after us would never experience such because of a foundation like yours, Mrs. Makinde. Because of the resources we have now. I did not have access to them then. After a diagnosis at birth, they just handed me a handbook, and that's what I had, nothing else. Talking from my personal experience, I know I am blessed to have my daughter, Patience, whom I'm very proud in my life. The fact that Patience is also a speaker today led credence to why I am proud of her. Ladies and gentlemen, how do we achieve employability with our individuals with intellectual disability? How do we make them employable in a competitive global market? Bearing in mind the fact that they are unique gifts on their own. We just have to prepare them for gainful employment as part and parcel of the workforce. It is our duty as parents to prepare them from home to get them employable. We have to start from home. That brings me to the understanding of employment. What is employment? It has many definitions. Oxford Dictionary says the number of people in an economy who provide services for pay under a contract. In my lay speaker language, employment is the centerpiece of adulthood. It must be available for everyone, irrespective of their genetic status. Do not let me bore you. In Pennsylvania, I'll let you know that I live in Pennsylvania, USA, and I've been in the system for the past 17 years. So I'm gonna share my experience. Transitioning to a job force starts from age 14. And at this age, they are mostly in school, I know. And that's when they start them. And it is usually from the ODP, the Office of Developmental Programs. This office supports Pennsylvanians with intellectual disability to achieve greater independence, choice, opportunity, and it encourages them to live everyday lives as everyone else. The office pays for the job trainers right while they are in school. There are many ways in which our individuals with intellectual disabilities are trained towards gaining employment. And I'm gonna discuss them. One of them, sorry.
Okay.
One of them is through supported employment. We call it supported employment. Supported employment is where our young adults with intellectual disabilities, sometimes I might interuse ID intellectual disabilities, so maybe you understand me. Young adults are supported to obtain and sustain what we call competitive integrated employment. Competitive integrated employment is where they work with regular population. Okay? So they're not just working with only intellectual disability individuals. They get to work in a regular place. If they're gonna work in Walmart, they work with regular person. Omotolani works at the high school where she graduated in 2017. That's where she works right now. And actually, at shifts, she's the only individual with a disability there. So that's what we call competitive integrated employment. They train them to be able to adapt to any situation so that they are not just grouped together as only intellectual disabled persons. So CIE can include full-time and part-time job arrangements. She's worked full-time before. Right now, she works 3 days, 3 hours a week. Gradually, actually, the only reason she's working is because we do not have enough hours. We don't have enough job coaches. And let me tell you, she goes with job coach. They provide a job coach that goes with them until they are able to stand on their own. They help them to find this job. They build their resumes and they stay with them until they are able to stand on their own, until they are comfortable enough. They watch them, then they pull out little by little. So if they're spending 3 hours with them, they might start to come 2 hours. As they see that they're building confidence, then they start to pull out. Then they are able to stand on their own. So another one is a small group employment. That's another way. It's a group of individuals with disabilities that are grouped and coached together in small groups. This is another way. Let me clarify this. This kind of employment is not considered integrated because it is only a group of disabled personalities that are supported. Then after a while, they can now transition to a competitive integrated employment. So this is a little bit lower than the competitive integrated employment. Another one is the advanced support employment. This form of employment helps people that have limited or no experience at all to seek or keep a job. The desired outcome of this program is the attainment and sustainment of competitive integrated employment. I won't do justice to this topic if I fail to mention benefit counseling. Because you know, most of our individuals, most of our children, they do get some money which is called Social Security. They do get SSI from the government, some of them. My daughter never got until this year. Because sometimes when the mom earns some money and your children is not considered an adult, you will not be a beneficiary. So it is imperative to counsel these children so that you make sure your earnings is not going to affect your SSI. So you have to work certain hours, because if you work too much, then your SSI might be affected. The government might cut back on the money they give you. Because don't forget, yes, they get paid the same way. I don't know if you guys know. She gets paid, I don't know what grade, whatever, but she gets paid more than an average. I mean, how many people get paid $16 an hour? That's how much she gets paid. She gets paid $16 an hour. And last year, 2 years ago, she worked at a store. She got paid $12 an hour. Last year, she worked at a restaurant. She got paid $14 an hour. So they go with the rates. Whatever any Dick, Tom, and Harry gets paid is what they pay them. They never say, oh, she's an individual with disability. We're gonna pay Harry this amount, but she gets, no. They get paid the same. Whatever rates they use, there is no discrimination. There are 3 job categories for individual with disability. I will let you know there are 3 jobs. Food preparation and serving is common, and the percentage is about 33.5, which is what our lady does. Like I said, she's worked at various places in life. She's worked at many restaurants. She's worked at, there is a our biggest park around here is Hershey Park. Google Hershey Park, probably after Disney World, Hershey Park, and my daughter has worked at that park. At Chocolate World, she worked there for many years. The only reason she stopped was because I couldn't find an accommodation for her. Sales and retails is about 18.9%. And building and ground maintenance, which means they get to clean, which she did sometimes in Bosco, is 22.4%. Unfortunately, these are the jobs they are able to do. Yes, when she was growing up, I thought she was gonna be a medical doctor. Up till maybe a few years ago. But I am as proud of her now as I was when I started the IEPs, because I know she has actually gone beyond my expectation. So we thank ODP because they collaborate with various agencies to support these young adults with intellectual disability. So how are these job trainers trained? I'll let you know. These job trainers, oh, my time is up. Can I quickly give me 2 minutes to round up? Because I don't want you to think,
okay, yes, ma'am. However, we would also want to take questions. So, and there are other speakers.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you so much. No problem. Thank you so much for that awesome session. Please, a round of applause, virtual round of applause. It's so beautiful to know that, it's so beautiful to know that persons with disability, particularly Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities, can be employed and, gainfully employed and thriving in their respective careers. In no time from now, we'll have patient herself speak to us about her role where she works. Can she do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So patients would like to hear from you. Introduce yourself, and then let's hear from you, patients.
Are you able to see her? Okay. Yeah.
Patients. hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Say your name.
my name is Patience Adekunle.
Where do you work?
I work at Stereotypes High School.
When did you graduate there?
I graduated 2017 and I graduated 2020.
So here, they will graduate. They are able to stay in high school till age 21. So she graduated first at age 17. Then she went back just so they would groom them to be able to work out. So she went back and graduated finally at age 20. Okay, all right.
Amazing. Amazing.
So what do you do now? What job do you do now there?
So I work at Stereotypes High School. I do cafeteria dietary.
You work as a dietary aide?
Yes.
What do you do? What are your chores there?
Well, I count the apples and I put them in the freezer so they're ready for the student to be used.
Okay. Then what else? The French fries, what do you do with them?
The French fries is probably ready to be used
By the students?
by the students. And
then the laundry?
And then I do the laundry.
Wow.
And then I
do you clock in? Do you clock out?
I clock in, I clock out.
Okay. And do you every 2 weeks you get paid, right?
Every 2 weeks I get paid.
And how much do you get paid?
I work $16
an hour.
$16 an hour.
Okay.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mommy. You have done and you are still doing a beautiful job. Please, a round of applause for the Mommy of the Year. We also have other parents on this live and they are inspired. There is hope for them to know that their children can also be gainfully employed.
Amen.
Please, a round of applause. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. Thank you, Patience. We are rooting for you. The world is your oyster.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we are just getting started. This is just the first speaker, and you would agree with me that was such an insightful episode, speaking about employability of persons with intellectual disability. Right now, without further ado, we are moving into the next speaker. Somebody re-echo next speaker. Let me see the next speaker chat. Next speaker chat. I would like to also say you can follow Dancing Diva on TikTok. That's Patience's TikTok page, Dancing Diva. She has over 60K followers and she does extremely well. So you should follow her and be up to date with her performances. Okay, yes, next speaker. So the next speaker will be taking us on early intervention in the family home. We all know that early intervention is very key. It's very key for persons with intellectual disability. And then we have a very qualified mom. I call her another super mom in the house, and I'll be reading her bio. Please follow me. Nadi Mejas is a devoted mother of 6 and a passionate Down syndrome advocate. Leaving behind a thriving hospitality career, she prioritized family, relocating globally to support her husband and raise her children, including twin daughters with Down syndrome. She's fluent in Spanish, Italian, and English. Nadi embodies resilience and unconditional love. Through blogging and advocacy, she empowers SEND families to live life fully, sharing her experiences and inspiring others. She's featured in London billboards and advertisements. Nadi's family celebrates diversity. She supports her Down Syndrome Association in Hampshire and is currently writing a book. In her free time, Nadi enjoys cooking, walking, reflection, and inspiring others. Follow her journey on Instagram and Facebook. with a resounding round of applause, virtual applause, please make welcome Mrs. Nadi Mejaz. Please, a round of applause for her. You're welcome, Miss Nadi. It's so good to have you join us today.
Wow, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Please
Yes.
signify if you
Wow.
can hear her.
Yes. Wow, what a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here with all of you. Welcome and congratulations to all the new moms and the parents, caregivers, family members, everyone joining us today. And yes, early intervention. Thank you. Early intervention can feel like a big topic, and but today I'm gonna try to break it down in manageable steps, and so we can, feel like more understanding our everyday life, because raising a child with Down syndrome uh, is a mix of joy and real challenges. But there is hope, and I'm sure we can raise one child with Down syndrome, and not only one, but two, because I've got identical twins with Down syndrome. And yes, it is possible. It is possible. And I ask myself, how can I help the children and how can I help these families? Because, it's I don't have all the answers, but there is something that I can bring my real experiences, something that I see from a mom's perspective, because I've been there, I've been in your shoes. And oh, I'm gonna share what has bring me calm and a steady progress along the journey for my family. So every child is different, every path is different. Because I'm a visual learner, I like um, to see things in three ways. I like to see things, how can I um, navigate this path, this journey. And in three steps, I'm gonna briefly say that it starts with practical support. Think of this as a roadmap. Practical support is all about that early intervention, those early therapies that we do with our children, those all the support, the speech and language therapies, the uh, physiotherapies, occupational therapies, all these things that, we literally roll up our sleeves and get on the floor and start doing therapies with them, games and playing. So it's basically building the foundation for our little ones. So, it also involves tears, it involves some frustration, some anxiety thinking, what's ahead. But we need to do that, those early therapies to build the communication, the Makaton use, all those visuals, all those things that are really gonna build the early years, build their future. So all the health checkups, all the things that we know are gonna help. We're like a mama on a mission. We're ready to tackle all those little things. So everything is that's part of the practical support. And so we also talk about the routines, all the routines that we have, the morning routines, the sleep routines, the meal time, every little step that our children need to learn. The first steps, sometimes we think as we don't know exactly what to do, but then the second step, it comes with the emotional resources, because it's in those moments first, when we go in the practical steps, when we go to those appointments, the hearing aids, the visual checkups, the hearts, how our child is, we are diligent with those practical things that we can do, and the things that the therapist or the portage lady give us, the toys, all those things that we know is combined with the emotional support that we need to have, going to uh, working on our emotional side, that it will be going to those parent support groups, going to those meetings, coffee mornings, where we get that real advice from other moms or other people that have been there. So, learning activities that will our children with Down syndrome. And then the three steps, let's say that like that, is those skill strategies. How are our children are gonna get there to the place, like once they are older, they know how to do things on their own. Then it's when we need the real strategies to make things a reality. And then, like, making games. What games do we need to do? What what sorry, it's what games do we need to do? What activities, what toys do we need? They will benefit from them. All the structure activities that they need. This will happen in those strategies, because we don't normally go with the flow. We try to work hard on, or we run on love for our children, and at the same time we want to see the success for them. So then, after kind of have a like roadmap of how the early years are going to function, are going to be happening, we ask sometimes, we recognize their progress, and we see sometimes their needs, but we ask ourselves, as they are very little, because we don't sometimes necessarily see the progress immediately. So we ask ourselves, is my child understanding? Is he grasping the things? Is this actually working? Is my baby gonna be able to do things? Doubts come as we navigate this journey. So we go back to the emotional support, and we try to put ourselves you know in the zone when we start recognizing their strengths and their weaknesses. So we focus on what needs to be done today to support them, so we can go back into perspective of how their development is going to happen. So then, how can I measure the success? How can I measure if they are actually doing well? There's so many ways. Our children are not typical children. They develop slightly slower, or much more slower than typical children. So how can I measure? How can I know that all these interventions, all the things that I'm doing actually are working? Because of the routines, because of the everyday little activities, because how they react, how they respond, if they start, signing, and then, it comes with their own individuality, their own path. We set the things at their own pace. So we know that our children in the whole, as a whole family, they start responding and to family jokes, to responding to small instructions, responding to, that connection that they get to build as a person. That is so they are key in measuring that we are doing well, because as a mom we sometimes fill our minds with doubts if we are doing enough, if we are, at the right rhythm, but we create reasonable expectations that our children will go at their own pace. So we basically tune to our child needs, tune the things that they like, the things that they need in a practical everyday life. As they explore outdoors, that will, the way they respond to things, that will tell that they are doing really well. And yes, those early little steps will tell how much progress they have made since they were babies until now. My twins are 7 years old, and they go to mainstream school, and in year 3. And I can tell that all the work, the early intervention that but basically I built for their development paid off. It worked amazing, because they're reading a lot. Now we're working in comprehension. Now we're going to the next stage of their life. But be sure that you are doing enough. Be sure that all the things that you do will pay off as long as you embrace their natural rhythm. And also, um, we celebrate every win. Celebrate every win as they grow. Celebrate every little thing, even from babies, how they hold their spoon, the utensils, how they start help to set up the table, how they start getting dressed, brushing their teeth. All that routine will tell us that even if their speech might not be clear because it takes time, they are growing as independent adults or with lots of support adults, but they are enough to to grow as a capable children. And so remember, success might not look like everyone else. So early intervention is key. So we don't miss that window, that space that is key, where their brain is working amazingly to understand and to grasp all the concepts, just like any other baby, any other toddler, any other little one. They will get there. Toileting, hand writing, fine motor skill, gross motor skill. It comes with a whole package of things. But I really know that we moms, caregivers, we are like a clockwork. We are like a well-oiled machine, ready to work non-stop, ready to squeeze any little space on any little moment to provide our best, to give them, because we already see them with our love, with our care. We run and ready, we run on love, ready to tackle everything that comes our way for them, hand to hand, on hand with them. So it's basically early intervention is our time to you know to teach and to give our children all the tools that they will need for the teenage years and adulthood. So thank you very much for having me. I want to tell you that you are enough. You are enough for them, and find all the support and all the resources available out there, because like the previous speaker mentioned, she didn't have too many resources, but now we have practices, we have the internet, we have so many things to embrace their journey with different perspectives, and we have a community ready to share the experiences, to build others people's life, and to walk together on this journey. So thank you for having me, and I hope that you show up. I'm sure you will show up every day for your family, every day to see them raise right, shining, and yeah, and all the
Right.
for all the moms out there and caregivers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause, virtual applause for Nadi. Let's know what you think of our session. For me, it was really explosive. Having twins with Down syndrome, I mean, I doff my hat for you, Ma. Thank you so much. Truly inspiring session. One thing you said that stood out for me was the fact that doubts will come. You would not, if, as a parent, you're not sure if there's progress, but you need to ensure that as long as you are doing enough, you give them time. So thank you so much for that session.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Early intervention is key. I can
Yes.
see in the chat box, there's a lot of appreciation. I see thank you, Nadi. Appreciations are just coming in.
Growth happens every day, and that's what we need to keep in mind. We are doing enough for our children. When we feel in the waves of grief, waves of adjusting, growth happen every day in the unexpected things.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you. And you have such a lovely smile. Who agrees with me? Now this smile is just a killer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so I see people saying Mama Twins is a great achiever. Yes, you are a great achiever, taking it one day at a time. Well done, Ma. We love you. We love you so much.
Love that.
Yes, one day at a time. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so someone is saying gracias, mama. I think she's
Gracias,
your...
mama. Yes, I speak Spanish, and I'm originally from Venezuela. And so yes, then we moved to Italy, so that's why I speak Italian. And yes, so I'm here.
Oh.
If you follow my account on Instagram, that's what also the account came. I got 2 minutes, so 2 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the
Okay.
I was inspired to, because this overwhelming task and avalanche of information, avalanche of work with the twins. So I motivated to open this account in Six to Love Twins EBD to support other moms and to recognize that it's a hard work, but it's also it's fascinating to see how they grow. It's fascinating to see that when they do something little, that you are like, we did it, and then you celebrate every day. I think there's not a day that passes that I celebrate something, even little.
Wow.
So yeah, so follow us,
Amazing.
follow
Thank
me on
you.
Instagram, and you can meet the twins and the whole
Yeah.
family. And then yes,
Okay,
we
so your Instagram handle will be in the chat. A co-host will do that shortly, and people will follow you so they can live inspired because you are an inspiration. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Okay, so I hope we are having a great time so far. Like I mentioned earlier when we started the session, we are in for a beautiful ride of learning about Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities. I would love for you all to have your snack by your side, your water, your drink. Just relax. We have so many experts on ground. We've had 2 sessions already, and we have 3 powerful sessions coming right up. Okay, so I just want us to play a quick game to just get us busy. We have the chat box and we can type. I want to know the first person that would be able to type Down syndrome according to the letters without interruption. So you write DOWN, no, DOWN syndrome, just like that. Let's see. Okay, I'm just seeing Down syndrome. So I need it to be spelled. Yes, okay, Oluchi has started. Okay. Okay. Oluchi, go Oluchi. Nobody's interrupting Oluchi. Go Oluchi, go Oluchi, go. Okay. Okay, what's happening here? I feel like there's an interruption already. The chat is okay. Funke, Oluchi is back on track. How do we get our winner like this? I see Down syndrome. Okay, what's happening? Okay. Well done, well done, everyone. Okay. Yeah, so at the chat room, we have Mrs. Nadi's Instagram. Please follow her. You can also send DMs, and I'm sure she'll be available to respond to you. Thank you so much for participating in my quick game. I see some people still struggling with the spelling. It's very important that we familiarize ourselves with this. We are advocates. I like to say that parents are first advocates of persons with Down syndrome or intellectual disability. So I understand that in this meeting today, we have parents of persons with autism, cerebral palsy, and other disabilities. So yes, we're here to learn, and it's open for all. We are moving right into the next speaker, and our next speaker is already in here. So if you can hear me, please say next speaker. Next speaker, just say next speaker. I've seen Down syndrome enough. I want to see next speaker. Next speaker. Okay, yes, I see next speaker already. Thank you so much. And she's an occupational therapy practitioner and disability advocate. And she has over 15 years of experience in healthcare, humanitarian services, and nonprofits. She supports children with diverse abilities, including Down syndrome and autism. Educated at Federal School of Occupational Therapy, Nigeria, and Queen Margaret University in Scotland, Bridget excels in project management, education, and individualized therapy plans. As a Therapist Beyond Borders ambassador, Bridget advocates for inclusivity and empowerment, transforming lives through her work with expertise in school-based interventions, elderly care, and affordable therapy solutions. Bridget fosters independence and confidence in individuals with disability. Her passion for inclusive communities and rehabilitation solutions drives her work, inspiring hope and limitless potentials. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding round of applause, virtual applause in the chat room, with your emojis, please make welcome Mrs. Bridget Kusi Uko for her session that is titled Occupational Therapy, a Powerful Tool for Empowering Persons with Down Syndrome. A round of applause, please. You're welcome, Ma. The stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. Can
Hello,
you all
Ma.
hear me? Hi, Peace.
Hi,
Hi,
Ma.
Tola. Hi, mothers. Hi, professionals in the house.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. We've been
Yeah.
in this struggle for so long and we just don't want to give up, you know?
Thank
Because
you.
it would be nice to actually get to a place where we can finally say that, oh, children here in Nigeria, have access to free services, just like patients shared. So we're not going to give up until we get there. So welcome, everyone. I'm not going to make it very technical because experience has taught me that you have to try and make it as practical as possible, very simple. So let's dive right into it. The power of occupational therapy in helping people living with Down syndrome. I always say living with because I hate the possessiveness of saying no, A or B has Down syndrome. So I'm very particular about saying person living with Down syndrome. So bear with me because that's what I'll keep doing. So today I'd like you to meet Bree OT. OT being short for occupational therapy. So what does she do? Bree OT is an occupational therapy practitioner who works within the community settings. And from time to time, she visits the primary healthcare center in her community. She visits schools and community leaders to try to sensitize them about the role of occupational therapy in helping people of all ages to live functional, independent lives. Now, during one of her visits to the local PHC, her attention was drawn to the fact that a family had recently visited with their 4-year-old son, who incidentally turned out that the boy has some milestones, delayed milestones development, and so a referral was made for Bree OT to be able to do something about it. So for us occupational therapists, we view occupational therapy as a science that also has the a perspective of creativity, and then we bring our compassion. Everything collides and mixes for us to be able to do our work. So, who is this boy that we are meeting today? Meet baby Abe. Baby Abe, like I said, is a child, a male child who visited the PhD with his parents. He is the last child of his parents. There are 3 children. He is the last child. He has 2 older sisters. Now, at birth, um, it didn't look much like there was anything wrong with him. They took him home. And then a few months later, his parents started noticing that, that perhaps the physical features were not exactly as their 2 older children. So they started making their observations and their comparisons, and then it was glaring that there were noticeable physical differences. And what were these noticeable physical differences? The flattened face, the flat nose, the noticeable sticking out of the tongue, the eyes shaped almost like almond. If you know almond fruits, in this part of the world we call it fruits, but it's really almond. It's almost like like my glasses, but more slanted. So the parents did notice that. They also noticed that it looked as if he had flat feet, he had decreased muscle tone at birth. and then the small mouth, the small ears, I definitely for them, no, 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 there was something wrong with their child, and they needed to get help immediately. So what did we do? We decided that having gotten referral from the PhD, we're going to dive right into the occupational therapy process. And that means that there are protocols that we follow in occupational therapy to be able to create intervention when we have cases like that. In this instance, baby Abe has Down syndrome. So we did our information gathering, we did the initial assessment, and then we during our assessment we want to know the reasons, the why. Why is this child at this age still having delayed milestones? Why is this child why is there are there issues with this child? And then from the moment we have all the why, then we set into, okay, what do we do? Then we will set our goal, set up our goal, then the action plan, and then we go right into taking action. So what did we notice? How did we prioritize it? Abe's posture was impaired. He wasn't really sitting well the way he should. He wouldn't sit for long. He wasn't standing. Walking was also delayed. Language was still limited to the little blabbing, blah, 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 and all that. So generally, we realized that the milestones were delayed. So what did we recommend for baby Abe? We recommended, as part of his intervention, that there should be facilitated movement patterns that would help him to be able to move from inability to crawl and all that, and then facilitate it to the point where he should be able to hold to stand. From holding to stand, he would take his first steps towards walking. We also included activities for muscle, increasing his muscle tone, strength training, improving his fine and gross motor patterns, facilitating communication, using play therapy techniques, and other appropriate strategies. So basically, as treatment went on, for medium term, baby Abe would also get occupational therapy intervention for fine motor development towards preparing him to be able to take advantage of formal learning, preschool, and then from preschool learning, he'll be able to go on to being able to be integrated into formal school learning. That was what we did for baby Abe. Now, as we continue to work with the PHC, we got more referrals. This time around, BRIOT got to meet Bon Great. Bon Great is a male, 24 years old, who lives with his aged parents. He's a middle child out of 5 children. He was sent to boarding school, and then, but he insisted that he needed to withdraw from boarding school because he said that he could no longer cope with all the schoolwork that he was being given. He was also getting depressed, because he got tired of his peers asking him, "Why do you look different from us? Why are your ears like this? Why can't you always put your tongue inside and all that?" So he felt tired of making the effort to succeed in school. Whereas his teachers kept encouraging him to do more in the areas that they had noticed that he had the strength and ability, so that he could just keep being in school and enjoying the learning and the social interaction. But then Bon Great got to the point where he threatened to do bodily harm to himself if he was not allowed to withdraw from school. So his school recommended that his parents should seek professional help, and because they feared that. Hello, I hope you can actually hear me. Hello,
Yes,
are
we
we
can.
together?
Sorry. Yes, we
Okay,
can. Yeah.
okay. So eventually, Bon Great was given a referral, and the referral went to Brie Otish, who was called in for a case conference to determine the kind of intervention that was appropriate to help Bon Great. So after the assessment, the priority list was drawn up. Mental health was prioritized for bond grades to prevent depression, help him build stronger emotional ties, and teach him skills for resilience. Of course, he was also helped to be able to participate in, positive occupations like physical exercises at his local gym. Alternative pathways were created for him to be able to learn and develop his potentials in areas of strength, like his love for arts and designing. He was also challenged to take up new skill sets in learning to play local instruments like the beating of the conga drums. Family therapy was also emphasized upon to ensure maximum support was given to bond grades for total well-being. Of course, to address issues of self-esteem and stigmatization, bond grades was also encouraged to be the voice and face for Down syndrome in his local community. He agreed to work with BOT to advocate for acceptance and more enabling environment to allow for more inclusion for people like himself within his immediate community. He also agreed to take up part-time work in the local restaurants while continuing studies on a pathway adapted to meet his personal learning goals. So what I've drawn out here are two different scenarios. The first scenario being early intervention. Our previous speaker had talked about how important early intervention is for the child living with Down syndrome. It's key that once you have the diagnosis, or in this part of the world, it's very easy to miss out on those diagnoses. But the moment you feel like there is something amiss, you should get help from a professional, a medical practitioner, a healthcare provider should be able to point you in the right direction. So, occupational therapy took bond grades from where he was to where he desires to be in life. Some people will say, "Oh, make this go away." No, you can't make Down syndrome go away. Rather, it is my duty as an occupational therapy practitioner to help you cope in spite of the myriad of challenges that you may be facing on daily basis, that may be threatening your child's ability to be able to function, that may be threatening your peace of mind as a parent who has a child living with Down syndrome. So these are some of the advantages that you can get from occupational therapy. Occupational therapy can help you improve cognition, like I did say, motor skills, fine and gross motor skills will help children to become more independent, whether during play, in classroom activity, on the playground, or even at home. Children struggling with self-regulation and sensory processing issues also get help from an occupational therapy practitioner. For one example that we can easily relate to is bathing. If a child is growing and is not able to bathe by himself, it can really affect a whole lot of things. So an occupational therapist can come in and break down the task, make it very simple, simplify the whole process for you to be able to help your child to go through life the way he or she is supposed to. So what skills do occupational therapists help to build? I've already mentioned them. In addition to the fine motor, the gross motor skills, visual motor skills. Quite a number of the children living with Down syndrome do have issues, with their sight. So occupational therapists will all can work with parents and the appropriate professionals to be able to address those issues. Executive functioning, self-care, academics, social participation. These are all the things that we all talked about. Giving an example of, the challenges you can have with your fine motor skills, your ability to open a bottle or close a bottle, open the door to the house, lock the door. These are some of the challenges. Feeding, Some children have issues with self-feeding. You will have to break down the tasks, help them to be able to overcome it. Sensory issues, how do they take in sensory input? How do they react? These are all some of the things that you would see. Strength training. Is this child able to make use of bilateral hand coordination, crossing the midline, able to tie shoelace, or even zip up maybe their clothes or something, cutting with scissors. So these are some of the things that occupational therapists will help you to do. So today, what are we saying? We are saying that we should face the facts. And what are the facts? Down syndrome can affect people of all colors, race, ethnicity. It can affect both male or female. So it is not limited to, oh, it is only boys or only girls that can be affected. Your child with Down syndrome can grow to be an adult with Down syndrome. That's why I said, let's face it. We are not taking it away. Rather, we can work towards overcoming the challenges associated with an individual living with Down syndrome. Again, it's very important to note, please, parents or professionals, Down syndrome is not a spiritual problem. It's genetically linked. It again, I have to stress, it is not a spiritual problem. There is no amount of binding and casting that you're going to do. Rather, you will just end up frustrating people. Yes, you can, with your faith, all the things you're doing can all work together to make life better for that individual. You know, People with Down syndrome can learn to function independently in society. And today, what are we saying? We are saying that yes, there is hope for that child living with Down syndrome. We are here to fight against the stigmatization. How are we going to do that? We need to address the impact of discrimination, stigma, and implicit bias that affects the functionality of every child, every individual living with Down syndrome. We need to be conscious of the language that we use with them. We should avoid blaming whether parents or even the individuals themselves. It's not their fault. We need to continue educating and informing ourselves and others about Down syndrome. We need more champions of Down syndrome to be empowered to speak out, and be more visible. We need to show more positive ways of how people living with Down syndrome are thriving in society. Yes, we must challenge stereotypes like the belief that people living with Down syndrome cannot learn. We have to build the capacity of families. Families need to partner with professionals like occupational therapy practitioners. We can work together to create more meaningful opportunities for people living with Down syndrome in the community. Yes, create more support groups. Again, advocacy is really, really important. So to me, it really doesn't matter what people are saying. They may be saying negative things, but you need to remember these positive points. Early intervention is very crucial towards addressing the needs of people living with Down syndrome. Try and make basic literacy and learning a part of the child's personal development plan. Occupational therapy practitioners will always provide evidence based and practical solutions that are person centered. Yes, people with Down syndrome can live a normal life. Never doubt their abilities. They are a gift from God. They understand everything. They want a life just like you and I, you know. And again, I have to stress the fact that, occupational therapy is so important because aside from us um, being healthcare professionals that can use everyday activities, you know, and tailor it therapeutically to help a person living with Down syndrome to be able to live independently. There's so many things to do. I'm so passionate about my profession. I can just keep going on and on and on. So please, let me just stop here.
Okay.
You know, and
Thank you
give
so
opportunity
much.
for
Thank you
more
so
interaction.
much. Thank you
Yes.
so much. I could feel your passion. It was really palpable. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bridget. That was such
Yeah,
an
thank
impactful and
thank you for having me.
conversation. And you know, it's good for us to, as parents, as supporters, as carers, as advocates, it's good for us to always remind ourselves why we do the things we do. You know, passion is key. The love, the empathy, must be present so that we can easy, if you cannot communicate the love to them, I don't know what we are doing. So thank you so much for that awesome session. I asked participants to drop their questions. Any question you have, if it's for the first speaker, second speaker, I believe they are still present. But we have a question for you, Ma, particularly, and it's from Christy Opara. She says, thank you, Ma. Please, I have a question, Ma. My son is 5, but he's unable to chew. I've tried several ways to help him, but since the last time he almost choked, I got scared and stopped trying. How do I try? How do I help him chew? As this is really affecting what he should be eating. Thank you, Ma. So we'd like you to address that question.
Can I ask that mother to actually get across to me individually, personally? And this is the reason. Over the years, I've realized that people tend to just take the bandwagon answer, and then when they take it home, it doesn't work. They say it doesn't work. So please reach out to me so that I can carry out my assessment, my observation, and then I will put in place an intervention specifically tailored to your child's needs. Because if I say, okay, go and buy Z Vibe, or go and start massaging the face and all that, you could get home and it doesn't work. So please, it's very important that we keep it very professional. Get in touch with me. My lines are always open. Peace has my
Yeah.
number. You can reach me
We'll
on
share
Facebook,
your,
reach me
we'll also
on
share your
WhatsApp, and
Instagram
then
handle here.
I will do this for you free.
Okay. Okay, so Mrs. Bridget's Instagram handle has been shared in the chat room. So please, if you have to that parent, please reach out to her. Do we have
Please
any
give her my
question?
number. Give her my number. It's very important to
Okay.
give her my number,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. She says, thank you so much, ma'am. Literally in tears. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bridget. It's why we do what we do is to give hope to these parents, for them to know that they are not alone in this journey. So thank you so much, ma'am. Do we have any question? Okay, someone is also asking, can we also reach out to you? Yes, you can. Our speakers are available on and off this webinar, so you can reach out to them. She has granted us permission to share her number, and we'll do so. We'll do so. Okay, so do we have any more questions? Do we have any more questions? The session is getting hotter, and I believe that our next speaker is ready. And of course, any question, you can unmute and ask your question. You can unmute and ask your question, and you let us know who it's directed to. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bridget. We have no questions for you, but it was such an impactful time with you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being with us. Please, a round of applause for Miss Bridget. Please celebrate her. We love you, ma. Okay. All right, all right, all right. So I would like to ask everyone participant to stretch. We've been in on this for an hour, over an hour already. So please stretch, stretch. We tell our children to stretch during exercise in school. We tell them to move. So I'm telling you now to stretch, move your body, take water. If you have a snack by your side, please take your snack. It's time for you to just yes, Miss Bridget is showing us how it should be done. Thank you so much, Ma. All right, so we're moving right into the next speaker. Um, I'm trying to see if she's already in the chat room. Okay, so I'll go right into it now. I'll be reading her bio. The next person is the executive director of Morrible Down Syndrome Foundation. Before I read her bio, I want us to just give her a round of applause because she's the reason we are here. She's the reason why we're all gathered for this webinar. She has been so impactful. She has, the transformation we Down syndrome from children even up to adults is from her. She started the vision and we're running along with it. So I'll be reading her bio now. As I wrap up the bio, I would like us to give her a resounding round of applause. Yes, okay, so
Yes. Marriage is to be honored by all. I love.
Sorry, give me a minute.
It has to be honored by all. There is no exception. There is no discrimination whatsoever. So if you step into that institution, it is expected that you are conscious of the covenant you entered into. It is expected that you are conscious of the foundation that you're going to build on. Let me say this loud and clear.
Please kindly mute yourself if you're just joining in. So Tola Oizamakinde is a dedicated advocate for individuals with Down syndrome. Inspired by her daughter's journey, Tola left an 11-year banking career to pioneer Nigeria's first early intervention center. With a master's in social innovation, Tola develops innovative programs promoting education, health, and mental well-being. She's a certified early intervention specialist and multi-award winner. Next slide. She champions inclusion and empowerment, and through Morrible Down Syndrome Foundation, Tola strives to normalize disability and promote family literacy. Her mission is a world where every individual with Down syndrome thrives. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding virtual round of applause, please make welcome Mrs. Tola Makinde. You're welcome, Ma.
Thank you, everyone. Wow. I'm so excited today. Thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar. So today, before I go on, I want to say thank you to the speakers as well that have gone before me, Mrs. Rosalyn Adekunle, Omotola Adekunle as well, Nadi Bridget. I say thank you very much for honoring this invite and for dishing out the nuggets we just need to, know today. So my topic today is autism in Down syndrome. Can we please mute? Okay, thank you. Autism in Down syndrome, how to support and ask for help. Okay, well, I want to ask us to just in the chat room, just let me know how you feel right now. I'm feeling very happy. Like Bridget, I've not seen Bridget in a long time. So I'm happy to see her, like, I know we started this stuff together way back. So I'm feeling happy. Let me know how you feel in the chat room. Okay, some of us might be confused, worried. Some of us could just be like indifferent, like, well, I'm just trying my best every day, but I want you to know you're not alone on this journey. And honestly, that's the truth. You just need to keep connecting, with the right people, be in the right environment, like for the most part, because of your child. Try and, connect with people that would understand, where you're coming from, and probably people that are in your shoes, or people that are willing to support you. Yeah, so let's dive right in. Okay, so I know I've got 20 minutes, but I don't know how I'm going to like deliver this in 20 minutes, but I'm just going to try. So we all know autism spectrum disorders, and honestly, for the life of me, I would have thought it's okay for people with Down syndrome to just have Down syndrome and not just have, any other coexisting disability, because Down syndrome is quite huge. It's a lot to deal with when we talk about Down syndrome. But with autism spectrum disorders, we have what we call the autism triad, and is that is because we know and we are aware, according to research, that autism spectrum disorders affect social interaction, communication, and imagination. So anyone that has autism would have challenges with interaction, communication, and imagination, like, having the way they think, the way their brain is wired. That's what I mean by flexibility of thoughts. So also we know Down syndrome is, I don't want to bore us with what Down syndrome is. We all know that is the presence of one extra chromosome in some or all of the baby's million cells. So we have 3 copies of chromosome 21 instead of 2 copies. And there's this psychologist that, he tried to explain that how autism affects people's real life, like in like real life context, like in a real life, if you want to pack a bag, you just really don't know what to put in the bag. So he was trying to describe that is how autism affects people that have autism. And when do you wear a coat? Like, really, when do you wear a coat? Like a jacket. If it's winter, you wear a jacket. If it's summer, you don't wear a jacket. So then how do you cross the road? But they cannot just put those things into perspective, right? So that's what these are the examples of how we try to describe people that have autism, that it just says that that's just what autism is, that people will not have an idea of an ideal gift to give a friend. So that is his own explanation of autism. But then again, autism is a huge spectrum. Like the autism spectrum is very huge in the sense that we have the autistic spectrum condition at the far left, and to my far right, imagine that we have classic autism. So someone might be doing very well, be able to read, speak, go to school, write a book, whatever, and still have autism. And then we don't want to miss out on this diagnosis. But generally with ASC, which we also used to be called ASC, which we all know as Asperger's now, generally there is no learning disability, but there is the Asperger's there. But with classic autism, there is severe. So you see, it's like from one end to the other end, and you can imagine like the spectrum. And that's why I've put a rainbow there to show you that it is a spectrum. You will see it exhibit in different ways. Some people would even mistake other conditions for autism. So with classic autism, which I'm sure we can all imagine what I'm trying to talk about, it causes severe learning disability. And so when autism intersects with Down syndrome, what do we see? It's very, very difficult to, identify, but the similarities of what I'm trying to show today is that for someone with Down syndrome that has autism or has traits of autism or has autistic tendencies, though we don't use that word again, we don't use autistic tendencies again, but I'm just trying to explain that someone with Down syndrome that we suspect might have autism would have unusual responses to sensations, like sound, light, touch, for example. They want the light switched off every time, or they have to touch the light bulb to switch it off or put it on, depending on what level of sensitivity they are reacting to. And of course, food refusal is one of those similarities. When a child with Down syndrome has, some autistic traits, you see all of that. But like I said before, Down syndrome has its own full package, which if we begin to unpack today, we may not even finish in a year. And it's because of all the physical features and the way their brain is wired and their skull, the shape of their skull. And so all of these things, coupled with all other health conditions they have, will definitely affect, the way it will affect them differently. So Down syndrome will affect them differently. So imagine now adding autism to it, and then you will see unusual play with toys and other objects. And that's why we see some children with Down syndrome that they don't know what to do with things. Like they don't know what to do with a cup. So they throw a cup around, or they don't know what a cup is. So we have to be intentional to teach them what a cup is, and that you don't throw a cup around, or that you don't have to break a cup, because we see some of those traits of them, not knowing the use of items like a cup that I've just explained to us. So impaired imaginary play or ability to cooperatively play with other children, we see that a lot too in Down syndrome, where your child just wants to, stay by themselves, be by themselves, and not necessarily be able to make friends. And that's why it's very important to teach how to make friends, building friendships to people with Down syndrome. So some of those things, and a lot of those things, they need to be taught. You need to be intentional about it when it comes to, supporting people with Down syndrome. Difficulty with changes in routine as well, or familiar surroundings. So this is what is called generalization. So sometimes they're not able to generalize like actions or tasks. Like for instance, at home, they know where the tap is, they know where the toilet is, or at home, they know where to go and not where to go. They know about the kitchen or stuff like that, because that is their natural environment. But if I take them to like the public place, for example, they can't even process information. Even if you say, oh, this is where the toilet is, or this is where you should sit, they can't process. So they will just be uneasy, or just keep to themselves, or just be confused. So they're not able to generalize activities or tasks. And that's just because you've just kind of changed their environment or their routine, and they have little or no meaningful communication. That is contested, because for people with Down syndrome that have got speech and can communicate, sometimes they communicate jargons sometimes, and that has to do with self-talk, and that's another topic entirely on its own. So in autism, we have what we call neologism, and that is just a combination of words that have no meaning. And you see people with autism just saying those words, and sometimes these words are called trigger words. So before a meltdown, we could hear some of these words, like someone with autism saying babalaba, babalaba, or just a word, or just a couple of words or phrase, which doesn't mean anything. They have coined up those words, and we see that in Down syndrome as well. So they're also very diverse and talented. And I know a lot of us can testify to it, that some people with Down syndrome are multi-talented. Like they just need to see stuff, like see what you're doing, and that's just because they're able to see and touch, and that's like them having like a physical experience of what they're doing. Like for instance, you see a lot of them are very good with cooking and stuff like that, because it's what they can touch, and they're really boring. So their mind is busy. So what I'm talking about, if you're just joining, is how we're able to identify traits of autism in people that have Down syndrome, people living with Down syndrome. So their mind is busy, very busy. They're wondering, the focus on an interest. They can switch. Sometimes they can switch and be impulsive, and that has to do with mood swings as well, and that like I said, when we want to diagnose autism in Down syndrome, is very, very complicated. We have imaginative, creative. They can be imaginative and creative at the same time. They're able to see the world from a different point of view, and this is very, very complex in Down syndrome. When they begin to exhibit some of this imaginative play, they're like it's like having invisible friends that they talk to. Like it could even be the ceiling, it could be the sky, it could be the door, it could be a spoon, it could be anything. Think about it. It could be a ruler, it could be a stone, it could be paper, and they imagine a lot, that they are just with a human being. So what we've tried to do and how we can support in that area is to teach what non-living things and living things are. It might be difficult for them to understand this, but we need to keep like showing this and teaching this, because self-talk is part of the imaginative play I'm trying to describe here. Then making friends, sometimes you feel they make friends because they smile a lot. They don't really understand what friendship is because they are very vulnerable. And that's why that's a trigger. Well, that's because that is why we need to safeguard them, at all times, because you think, oh, my child with Down syndrome is no, and I hear people say things like, my child has very little Down syndrome. There's nothing like having a little Down syndrome. Down syndrome just affects people in different ways, so making friends, we need them to understand this, and with time anyway, they get to understand this, but we need to keep teaching it, and understanding unwritten rules of the society. They may not really understand that. So some people with Down syndrome will do, some may not. And I talked about mood swings earlier on. Then mixed sensitivities. This has to do with sensory input. Some people with Down syndrome spitting. So those are some of the traits you see when they spit for no reason. Sometimes they just don't know how to express themselves, or they're upset. They spit. We see that in autism as well. Then we see disruptive behaviors like aggression, tantrums, non-compliance, hyperactivity, short attention, and impulsivity, self-injurious behavior. Oh, my daughter picks her skin a lot, and you see the big sore on her thumb, but she's not crying about it. Her threshold for pain is high, and I've related with some people with Down syndrome too that have said that about their kids as well. They have sleep disturbances as well, and just sleep issues, generally sleep issues. And with Down syndrome, they have a lot of they have different types of sleep issues caused by different things, which we must understand to be able to support them in school. And history of developmental regression is also present, and especially if it has to do with language and social skills. So there's some children with Down syndrome that would not be able to speak as much as others with Down syndrome, and that's because they have other things going on that we've not been able to diagnose, and most especially it could be related to having autism with Down syndrome. Like I said, it's difficult to diagnose. There's no simple test that can say this is what you've got. You've got autism and Down syndrome together, and because we know that they exist together, and that's what we call the dual diagnosis. It's very, very difficult to say, okay, this is what it is, but these are just some of the traits I'm trying to just explain. Similar traits seen in Down syndrome without autism could be speech delays. That's very short for Down syndrome, because they have to get to understand how to talk, learn to talk. And it's not just speech, we see from the beginning, like pointing and all of that. Those are all the skills they need to develop for speaking, because Down syndrome is affecting them because they have low tone muscles. So all the factors responsible articulators for speech, like the tongue, because of the low tone, is definitely going to affect their speech. So we see that a lot, and self-stimulatory behaviors. And so I'm trying, my slide is very long, but I'm just trying to see how I can run through it. So difficult to diagnose, like I said, and you need a comprehensive assessment in various settings or environments over a substantial period of time for you to be able to diagnose autism in Down syndrome. But other conditions that can mimic autism, which children with Down syndrome have, are hearing loss. And that is why it's very important. So we're going to take these topics one by one, like the ears, the eyes, because Down syndrome affects most parts of the parts of their bodies, like especially the ears, the eyes, the way they react to pain because of the hypotonia, which is the low tone muscle, and depression. Depression can mimic autism, but we see that a lot. It's just one of those things we see a lot, and is related to the mood swings as well. We see anxiety, we see ADHD as well, hyperactivity. We see that a lot in Down syndrome. And so the diagnostic issues we're having is lack of awareness. People around us, like that support our children, or even teachers, are not aware that Down syndrome autism can exist with Down syndrome. And these other conditions we see also, like I said, is hearing loss. There's vision loss as well, but you never know, because your child with Down syndrome may not even cry or show the signs. And that's the part where we know that we need to keep checking. And that's why we have a long list of checklists that they need to go to the ophthalmologist, they need to see the ENT, they need to see the endocrinologist, they need to see the gastro, it has to do with the gastroesophageal reflux. That's the stomach. And these are issues too that you can see relating to autism sometimes, but doesn't mean that they have autism. So because this is very, very complex. Um, and with sleep apnea, some people with autism too will not get to sleep. But the doctors might not say this is sleep apnea, but definitely in Down syndrome, you will see it diagnosed as sleep apnea because the child might have gone to run like a sleep study test where you see that the child will stop breathing for some time while sleeping, and that's a sleep apnea. That obstructs the level of oxygen that carries it obstructs blood that carries oxygen to the brain. So you're going to see a lot of issues, behavioral issues in the child with Down syndrome. And guess what? You would think it's autism. It may not be autism. So for management issues, pediatric providers have a few in Nigeria. Difficult to find child psychiatrists, mental health practitioners, because there's a thin line between what I'm trying to describe to you, which is their mental health and learning disability. There is a thin line between mental health and learning disability. And what we want to focus on is the mental wellness, definitely, because it's very, very easy for them to cross over to that line, which we don't want to see. And it comes in different ways, like behavioral challenges, like, some of the things I'd mentioned earlier on. So sensitivity and side effects of psychiatric medication in Down syndrome. Yes, we have that. And some people, just makes the children like that are on this medication not, become active, like they're not themselves again. And if doctors are going to prescribe medication for children with autism as well, it might not just be it might just be for their hyperactivity. It might just be for hyperactivity. It might not be to correct anything. And also, many educators do not understand Down syndrome and how it affects children that have Down syndrome. So in their classes, you're telling them to sit down. They're all over the place. They can't sit down. Some of them have not even slept through the night because sleep is a very big, big issue. It's a very big challenge for people with Down syndrome. And I'm aware also for some children with autism, because I support children with classic autism. Classic autism, I'm talking about classical autism, children that that's like have self-injurious behaviors, like self-harm. They self-harm themselves and they harm others. So it's not one size fits all. It's not one size fits all. We're not talking about a one-size-fits-all thing here. It has to do with individualized intervention, and some of the kits that are used to commonly diagnose autism are not readily available, like the ICD-10, the ICD-11, and also this is commonly used in the UK. But currently, I'm working with a team of neurodevelopmental practitioners that have sent me a long list of questions to be able to diagnose autism in my child with Down syndrome. And working with them is very, very difficult, because they would find out what is affecting the child at home and compare to what is affecting the child in school before they're able to diagnose. I don't know how eventually they would diagnose it, but definitely what we are seeing is those traits of autism. A child clapping, just getting excited, jumping and laughing by herself, talking to, things that are not human being, like making friends with even a paper, just rubber band, name it, just imagine it. So intervention strategies, so therapies and techniques are okay, that's my time up there, but can you just give me 2 minutes, please? So intervention support strategies can aid significant areas, especially the behavior, communication, interaction, and use of imagination, because that is actually what you will see in a child with Down syndrome. And so this fall into different categories, like organizing the environment, which is very, very important to be able to support the child, the behavior support, and teaching skills. So you see, teaching skills is the most important, because that is what the child is going to need eventually as the child grows, to be able to cope in our environment, because you don't want the child to also always be on our own and not be able to learn a skill. So supporting strategies here, we've talked about early intervention today. I mean, I cannot overflow that. So PECS means picture exchange communication system. We need all of that to be able to guide them, because you see some children with Down syndrome, some people with Down syndrome, reading, and it's okay, you know. Some of them, like what we're seeing nowadays, is that some of them are going to college, they are getting their honorary degrees, you know, but I don't want us to over expect, and but we can just continue to do our best because we don't know how far the child can go. So we just continue to teach what we can teach, treat what is treatable, treat what we can treat as per their medical conditions. Because sometimes when a child has with Down syndrome has autism, you're not going to get much speech from that child, and you wonder why I've been in speech therapy, my child is not yet talking. So we have social stories also that you can use to support them. Routines, very important. Routine is very important if you suspect your child has other behaviors apart from Down syndrome, because some people will say, my child is not calm. My child is not calm. My child, yes, and that is because this is very common in Down syndrome. So a lot of children with Down syndrome have these autistic traits, but they are not diagnosed. So we just need to continue to support them, go for medical checkups, stimulation and play, personal development plan, like create alternative pathways for them. Don't say my child would finish on this regular school and I'm waiting for my child to go to uni, or I'm waiting for my child to go to GSS1, SS1. I'm not discouraging parents here today. If it is doable, it is doable. This is different from how cerebral palsy affects different children, different individuals. So because I am talking about the health challenges and how it can also affect them, coupled with the fact that they may have autism, it's important we leverage on their strengths, create learning spaces for them that would help their unique behaviors, that can support them to be better people and learn behaviors too. Learn behaviors are behaviors that from the day you see that behavior, most of the time it's not a behavior that is really pleasant or you want to see, and you don't have control over every of those behaviors. But as much as possible, you create a positive behavior plan so that it can take away those negative behaviors and you can use it to replace those negative behaviors. So I'm talking about good practice here. The use of visuals is a very good practice. Use of clues and cues, consistent approach. Let your child understand that even though this is a home, this is the home environment, we still keep to rules at home. And that way, even if your child has autism with Down syndrome, they can still like comply to, they can obey instructions. You can still get them to, obey the 1-step, 2-step instruction and just comply, at home, instead of just leaving them and saying, oh, I'm tired, I cannot kill myself. Yeah, you choose your battles as well. I'm not saying that you would always win, and there are some you just don't bother about. But the ones that you can bother about and support the child, to be better is what I'm talking about. So we have the routine, timetable, and schedules as well. We have agreed structures. So there must be agreed structures for you to support your child, like use of timers, like ABC. ABC is the antecedents before the behavior, and after the behavior, what are the consequences? That must be very, very clear. We don't have time 20 minutes is not enough for me to deliver this training at all. But I know that at the end of the day, you would have picked one or two things that you'll be able to apply to your own situation. So we also have good practice for support staff or carers, and that is language. We have to be careful the language we use. Our language is very, very important, because you have like more or less you have copycats, and they're going to use the language you've used apparently if it's also a very negative language. And also the way you speak to them, like if you want them to stop doing something, try not to use the word don't. If you see, if they are pouring the water on the floor, pouring a cup of water on the floor, you can just say something like clean the floor, or just say take the cup to the kitchen, or say go and clean the cup. Don't say don't pour the water on the floor, because that's not what they want to hear. You want to tell them what you want them to do. Okay, so we have you should have a knowledge of people you support. PWS is people we support. So you must know that child very well, know the triggers, know if it's a child that has classic autism or just on the spectrum, and knowing when to interact, knowing when to, my time is up. Okay, I'm going to stop very soon. So preparation for activities is also very important. That way you can prepare the child, you as a carer as well, you need to continue to go for trainings, self-directed study. You need to stay where people are sharing knowledge about what autism is. And for good practice in the environment, there must be safety. Risk assessment must be done for children that are wandering and can just run away or, just escape from the building. So you have to put safety precautions. Risk assessment must be in place. If the child is a child that bites, or head bangs, try and do a risk assessment for the child. Let the child stay in a clutter-free environment when you want to work with the child. And you can do this at home, like 20 minutes, 10 minutes every day. That is a consistent approach, part of what I talked about earlier, and organizing work areas. So your resources also must be well maintained, age appropriate, up to date, and you must identify the triggers. So these are my power words, and they've always helped me to achieve some of these things I've told you about. It's not like some of them are not achievable, but it's just for you to believe, in your actions and just, work with the child. Understand what triggers the child. And I think from what I'm saying, I've seen a lot of children with traits of Down syndrome, my autism, my child being one of them. And so far, so good. Intervention helps, no matter how little, no matter how you say it. If you go to my child's room, you'll see some pictures on the wall, and that is the ones that show don't throw paper on the floor is there. If I see paper on the floor, I go into her room and mark it. Then she quickly goes to pick. So those things help. You won't know how much they help. The only one I've not been able to control is speaking to imaginary friends. I've not been able to do that because that is when she's in her world. And that I can say, I know definitely that this is one of those autistic traits I've been seeing and talking about. Sometimes she flaps. So I watch her from a monitor. I have to put a monitor in a room. That's the way you can actually even know your child better. Things they do when nobody's watching. That's how you can know what kind of behaviors is my child exhibiting, if you know what I mean. So medical and behavioral issues are common in DS. I think I want to stop here. Let me not take all the time. So you can reach me, talk to TM on Instagram and Save Down Syndrome. So join us. My voice alone is not enough to, talk to people that we need to talk to, people that need
Thank
to
you, ma'am.
understand our children. So I'm available. I've also designed this early intervention kit as well. That's available as well. So you can reach out to me anytime. Feel free to do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Please, a round of applause, virtual applause for our Executive Director, Mrs. Tola Makinde. That was so insightful. I would really love to hear, I think it's time for us to ask questions directed to either the previous speakers or Mrs. Tola Makinde. But my question would just be, when you found out that your daughter had the trait of autism, how did you take it? Was it, did you feel like, what is all this again? Or how was your first reaction and how have you managed that just in 5 minutes, ma?
It's
Because
been
I believe that we have parents here that are also seeing those traits and are finding it hard to take in or manage.
okay. So I'm really sorry. I am aware I rushed this session, right? And it's because I have 25 slides. I didn't know how to go about it. Well, definitely. I started getting worried. I started getting worried because how can someone just sit down and start tearing clothes? We call it sensory. It's part of sensory. It's part of sensory, but that is what the brain is saying do at that time. And then child and adolescent mental health practitioners would ask my child, why do you like tearing your clothes? And she says, does it make you happy? And she says, yes. And they smile and say, it makes her happy. So why am I worried? Come on, I'm African. I'm worried. Child, and that is, the child does not know if it is a dress I bought yesterday, does not know whether it's new. There's something wrong. Come on. And that's just because she wants to feel that sensory need. I've tried to take away the clothes, give her already torn clothes to keep tearing, but she can't. She doesn't like to do that. I've tried to give hugs to know what is really happening because I was really, really confused, but that wasn't working. And she just takes pleasure in tearing it. So every morning I get to her room, I see all the threads ripped all over the floor, all over the floor. ripped. I know she's ripped clothes over the night. And if you ask me again, there are so many reasons responsible for this. Lack of sleep again. And again, she would do it when nobody is watching. I've never seen her rip clothes before, but I see bags and bags of ripped clothes. Of course, it broke me because I keep repeating those clothes. I keep buying and buying. It doesn't make me happy. But it was when I put the camera, I just saw that she would first of all spend hours and hours talking to herself and laughing with herself, playing with all those things I talked about. She has different names for them. So I'm talking from a lived experience that I won't be happy, but what will I do about it? I can't do anything about it. There was a time she was throwing objects at people around the house, even in a school, throwing objects at the teachers. And it said every behavior is communication. She was communicating something. Either if she had been stopped from playing outside or she was just communicating something. So I wasn't even upset about that. So because I know for sure that is just the way our brain is working at that point in time. All we need to do is continue to support every step of the way. For the ripping of the clothes, I have tried different things. It's not working. So what I'm going to try next is to give her a box of ripped clothes, which I will give her to continue ripping so that she can go when she feels like ripping. That is not working yet, but I will keep trying it. And I will also make the, which I've done it in her room. I can bring that later to show everybody what's it's in her room. So ripping of clothes. So now she knows after ripping, she throws them up or hides them under the bed. So that is still her, and she's still growing. So I believe there's still more we can do, and she can still stop it. So my own thing is never say never. So I look forward to the day that she would. So what I was even sorry. So when she started ripping, I started teaching her how to use needle and thread. So that if she rips, she will go back and sew and still wear it. So now rip clothes, I make her wear the rip clothes in the house. So yesterday there was a new top she wore, which she ripped just down the night of that day. So I made her wear it. It has holes here. I made her wear it, and I keep asking, "Do you like it?" She keeps saying, "No." Do you like it? So I believe she doesn't like it, and I believe one day she would understand it. So I feel that the brain is in such a state that so many things affect it. It is that degenerating, and the more we give experiences, tell social stories, keep teaching, they keep learning, they keep seeing the good behaviors. That way, they keep saying the good behaviors. I believe someday, somehow, somewhere, she will stop ripping her clothes. But guess what? It's common with children that have classic autism because it's that need for that sensory need. It's like a sensory, yeah, that's what it is. It has to do with texture or whatever is soft or whatever has a thread. Just look for one hole, and before you know, everything is ripped. So that's that. I think I've answered the question. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have. But I think we have another question. Please unmute, ma'am, and ask your
Yeah, someone
question.
can unmute. Yeah, anyone can unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. It's so good to be here.
Hello.
Ma'am.
Hi,
So,
nice to have you.
my question is, right, or what I would like for you to kind of investigate is, what does that do for her? What does the tearing of clothes, what exactly does it do? What's your daughter's name, please?
Moyi,
And how old is Moyi?
13.
Oh, fantastic. What does the tearing of clothes do for Moyi? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, we need to ask Moyi what it does for her.
We
And
need to find that
what
out. That's
what
the
she
only
was
way.
able to explain was that she just likes it. But guess what? If it becomes a behavior and she can't stop it, it's actually now becomes difficult to stop. So it becomes either a learned behavior or a sensory need, or she likes the way because she doesn't like the blenders. Sometimes, she doesn't like the blenders, but she likes loud music. So sometimes you cannot explain why she doesn't like that. So it is how the sounds affect her. And I feel the ripping of the clothes, she enjoys it. Because when she was asked, do you like it? I feel she didn't understand the meaning of do you like it? Because if you know that this cloth has just been bought, you will not be tearing it. It's money, it's not paper, So, but because she does not have that understanding, I can as well provide ripped clothes for her to keep ripping since she's enjoying it. But no, she wants to rip new clothes or clothes she has just worn today, right? I think that's giving her pleasure, right? So that's what I'm saying. We still need to find strategies around that behavior. And we may not win immediately. And it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for that
If I may,
insightful.
you mind?
Okay, you have another
Abe.
question? Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. So I was just going to say, from the scholars' presentation, right, talking about the child ripping off clothes. I'm wondering, she doesn't do it when you are in view.
No,
does it alone, right? More like
Yeah.
when she's alone. And I'm thinking, you see that she's trying to occupy her idleness by doing something.
Yes.
That happens when she's idle. But if she's
No,
engaged,
there's
right,
so many things. There's so many things she can do. She can color. She has all her stuff around her. Books, different things, pencils, all of that. But she wants to be alone is one thing I know. And if you enter that room, she's screaming and shutting the door and angry. Mood switch, mood change. Very angry. Not even, in fact, when I mean angry, I mean she can push you out of the room forcefully. But one day I asked why she liked staring clothes. She said, I'm making an aeroplane.
Okay.
That was what she told me. I remember now.
Okay, so sorry if I may, right? Sorry about
No, it's okay.
So the thing is, with that now, she's giving us a clue. She's trying to make something.
Yeah.
But is the wool and the clothes the appropriate materials to make what she wants to make? The answer is no. So maybe we need to redirect that to a bit more constructive.
You know what, Mr. Abe?
I did that. Sorry, before you go, I bought cardboard papers, did aeroplane shapes, I cut up everything. I did the aeroplane flying around. She said no.
You know what, Ma? I think this is very interesting. What Mr. Abe is saying is interesting. And the truth is, because you said that's a classic autistic behavior, and I would actually kind of agree with that. Reason is she derives pleasure. It's for pleasure, Mr. Abe. You know, when she told mom aeroplane, she probably told mom aeroplane just as a means of escape or get off my back. Trust me. And when she says, I do not know, she's actually sincere because she really does not have it in her repertoire to think cognitively why. So we have to then find that. And that's why we have the functional behavioral, what's it called, assessments, that's behavior analysis. We have to then find out what is the function of that behavior. And it's the only way we can help her remedy or save some money, some clothes.
Yeah. So because autism in Down syndrome is not like full-blown autism. You won't say it like that. So I can't call it classic. The behavior I will call classic is the self-harm one. Whereby, and it's not because she's idle. That one again is just one of those traits of autism. If you look at that spectrum, I shared about the spectrum earlier before you came. It's just one of those traits. You can't explain that this is the type of autism, or maybe she has little, it's just a trait. And that is what we call the dual diagnosis in Down syndrome. So because classic autism will mean that she can harm you, harm herself, bite, headbang at some point. At some point. That's what it is. So autism spectrum is also a spectrum. It affects children with autism differently. Some children with autism will prefer to eat grass. They will eat it and they will be fine. She won't do that. But you see, if you see her finger, she's ripping clothes and tearing her skin. it's not an appropriate behavior if you ask me, but I mean, it's
It's
just
not.
what yeah, do you understand? But sometimes it's just what it is.
We call it automatic behaviors. Automatic behaviors are behaviors that are not, they are not, you don't need a third party to carry them out. Take for examples, I don't even fix my nails, I bite my nails, right? I do not need someone to help me carry my hand in my mouth. Kids that suck, they do not need, and automatic behaviors, we will derive pleasure from them. We derive pleasure from them. And it's only when, as a matter of fact, in autism diagnosis, whatever the case of the autism, it's only when we have automatic behaviors, that stereotypic behaviors, that we can actually even say, okay, maybe spectrum, not ADHD, not this, you know. So it's something that gives pleasure, like you said, Ma, it's something that gives pleasure. And we really just, you don't want to take pleasure from her, but want to save your money.
Well, if it gives her pleasure, I'm not, it's not, like I said, there's nothing I can do, but can you bring that paper, that peg on Moy's wall? The
And then for the
card.
Sorry? For the self-harm, what strategies are you using, please?
For the self-harm, she's self-harming when I'm sleeping. I just see the skin ripped. And like I said, I've seen worse. But I work with children with autism. I've seen worse. Like they bleed, like head banging, and they have brain injury from there. So there's a lot of brain injury, you know. So the autism is not going to, they're not even going, there's nothing like people saying that they will recover. So they will not just be able to learn more, and they will be more, they will have more challenging behavior. It's just that we cannot say this is the cause of the challenging behavior, but we can also identify what are the triggers, what can trigger a behavior. Your meals. Has she started a session?
Okay, so I want us to go
She
right.
wants to say something. Do we still have
No,
time?
I said, I was like, well done, mommy, well done. God bless you. God will continue to provide the money. The money. God bless you.
You can say this.
We can
We're trying, we can see it's kind of blurry.
Oh dear.
Okay.
So it has most clean room tracker. No paper. These are all the things she picks: paper bottles, tissue roll, rulers, pencils. So Monday to Sunday, we'll just go and inspect the room, and so she tries to comply. Once she sees me coming to inspect her room with a marker, she's picking the papers already. So this is the strategy I'm using for now. She's picking the papers already. She's removing the bottles already. But by evening, the bottles will come back in their mass, in their numbers. Either from the bin, something she's put in the bin, she will go back pick from the bin. You know, so those are some of the things, you know. That's the way sometimes you can just identify that there's something else apart from Down syndrome, you know, going on, and might just be that the child just has some autistic traits with a difficult behavior. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you, Mrs. Zusi, for that. Mr. Abe too, thank you. I think Mrs. Roslyn has something to contribute.
Okay.
She was the first speaker today, so I would ask that she unmutes and just go ahead. Miss Roslyn, are you here? Are you still here? Okay, I think she's not here anymore.
Oh,
she's engaged in something. But we're going right into the next. She's the last but not the least speaker for today. I feel like we're saving the best for the last, or something like that, because she already has started contributing. You're muted, Ma. She already has started contributing even before her session. So you know that we are about to eat good. Before her session, before I read her bio, I would ask that we stretch again. We take some water. We have our snack. If we have some beside us, we're going into the last session for today's webinar. And I'd like to remind us that it's Moon Rainbow's 10th year anniversary, and that we are having this conversation which is needed to break barriers, enlighten us on the condition that Down syndrome is, and as well as other intellectual disabilities. It's sad that some persons do not realize that there are different kinds, some think all of them are all, they will just say special need, but there's Down syndrome, there's autism, there's cerebral palsy, and a host of others. So yes, jumping right into the next and the last session for today, I would like to introduce Mrs. Osesuzi Bolodeoku. She's a dedicated special educational needs expert and advanced certified autism specialist. With a passion for creative, inclusive learning environments, she established the FOS ABBA Center and Creative Hub, a thriving center that provides comprehensive support for neurodiverse children in Nigeria. Her journey began in the banking sector, but her true calling emerged while working at a pre-elementary school. There, she discovered a deep connection with neurodiverse children and dedicated herself to understanding their unique needs and challenges. After having a neurodivergent child, Osesuzi's commitment to providing early intervention intensified. Witnessing her child's remarkable progress through creative therapies and inclusive education, she became a strong advocate for breaking down barriers and ensuring equal opportunities for all children. Through FOS, Osesuzi is breaking down cultural stigmas and raising awareness about special needs in Nigeria. As an international speaker, she championed support for autism spectrum children through mainstream media and conferences, inspiring educators, parents, and policymakers to create more inclusive and accessible communities. Ladies and gentlemen, your virtual applause with a virtual applause, a round of applause for Mrs. Osesuzi Bolodeoku. You're welcome, Ma. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And I think all things work together for good. I'm glad I'm talking at this time, though I am very sorry. I'm very sorry that I came late, right? I had to sort out my kids. So please, can we have my slides up?
Yes,
it's so
coming
hot
up
in Lagos.
right.
So very hot. I don't know who is in Lagos right now. It's so hot in Lagos right now.
Yes, we're in Lagos and it's hot.
Okay, so let's dive into it. I'm glad to be here. We are talking about understanding behaviors in Down syndrome, strategies for support and inclusion, right? So next, please. We'll have a lot I think we'll just bounce off Mrs. Makinde's the questions and we'll just bounce up from there because I have so many slides and I have 20 minutes. Please, my time hasn't started counting though. Thank you. So, okay. I have to do this. Excuse me. Yes. Navigating the unique behavioral patterns of individuals with Down syndrome is key to fostering their growth. Of course, we know all this, we know that behaviors are different. We know that we emit several behaviors that are not typical to individuals with Down syndrome. For example, we could say that all Down syndrome individuals are very social. They're very sociable. Yes, not all, but we have a lot of them that are so friendly and so social, but definitely not all. And that was what we're talking about, behaviors, what Ms. Makinde was talking about, several other behaviors, right? And when we can have strategies to help these children with these behaviors, these individuals with these behaviors, you know that, of course, the potentials would definitely increase. Can we move on, please? The slide is so many. I'm the last, so people can give me one. Okay. Reoccurring terminologies. We've been talking about neurodivergence, neurotypical, Down syndrome. I'm sure we already know what Down syndrome is here. So neurodivergence, we know what that is. It's an umbrella term, or neurodiversity is an umbrella term that says that we all have different neurotypes, we all have different brains, and is coming from the aspects of it is not a disorder, it's not a disease, it's not something to be treated, neither is it something to be cured, like Ms. Makinde rightly said, right? And we have to pretty much create room for everyone, because we all are here in this earth to, I mean, we all are here, it's for everybody, right? So we need to create room for everyone. When I was a classroom teacher, I learned some interesting educational theories, right? Of course, they are relevant to learning. One of my favorite thing was, what's it called? Multiple intelligence. Howard Gardner. I really liked him as a classroom teacher because I'm very playful. I'm a very playful person. So with multiple intelligence, I could really use that strategy for the children in the class based on their individual strengths, right? However, as a classroom teacher, then I did not like the behaviorist theory. I couldn't understand why you would want to condition a behavior in a child. I thought that it was manipulative. I thought that was what I thought, but I had not entered the field of special needs then. So you see the difference as a teacher. You know, I don't want to go through all this. As a teacher, you see the difference. So let's just move on. Let's go on to behavior, please. Yes. So as a teacher, you see the difference, right? Teachers are, I love teachers. Teachers are very empathetic. They feel they can do all the magic in the world. They want to because they care. However, may not know like the difference between a child's clinical needs and the child's academic needs, right? So this brings us to behavior, which is what I love. Remember that I was saying that I didn't like the cognitive, the behaviorist theory, which is what ABA is really about. And ABA is what I do. And ABA is about applied behavior analysis. It's really about behaviors, working with behaviors. And what is behavior? Behavior is everything we're doing right now. What we're doing, we're talking, I have a pencil in my hand, whatever, you're sitting, the way you're looking at your screen is a behavior. So there's something we say, when a dead man can do it, then it's not a behavior. If a dead man, oh, praise God, I have light. Now, oh my God, you know that I'm in Nigeria, right? If a dead man can do it, then it is not a behavior. Please give me a minute. This is loud. Please. Oh. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. So if a dead man can do it, it is not a behavior. A good example, thank you for giving me that minute. A good example is I have to do my assignments and turn it in. Oh, I turned in my assignment. That's because I'm alive. I can turn in my assignment. I'm talking. That's because I'm alive. But a dead man cannot turn in an assignment. A dead man cannot be talking or explaining, right? So as long as a dead man can do it, it's not a behavior. That will help us really identify behaviors, right? So behavior is not random. And I'm so glad Ms. Makinde spoke before me. Behavior is not random. Behavior is communication. She mentioned that. Behavior is communication. Everything we do, there's something called determinism in science, right? In science, determinism says cause and effect. There is really nothing out of the blue that you just do. There's a reason each and every one of you is here right now, engaging in this behavior. Even the color of the shirt you're wearing or the hair, there is a reason for it. So determinism is cause and effect. And that is one of the laws of the universe, right? So that means that when we put determinism, one of the scientific laws now, determinism, into this context, we're talking about, before a behavior is emitted, we're talking about, I know I don't have, you're going through, before the behavior is emitted, you're talking about antecedent, behavior, then consequence. So the antecedent is what happens immediately before the behavior. What happened before Moin started tearing her clothes, before she started doing that? Mom is not there. I don't worry, I won't go through all the slides. We'll just pick because I only have a few minutes anyways. 20 minutes is not enough. So Mom puts a camera in Moin's room. What did Moin, was she doing right before she started tearing? That's an antecedent. And when you know, and when you know what a behavior is, if there's anything I want to leave here, is the behavior in itself. I don't want us calling names, oh, whether it's this, that. We know we're talking about Down syndrome, but Down syndrome comes with different behaviors. And we have seen that from the different speakers, different behaviors that you have to use different strategies for, right? So when you know the antecedent of this behavior, you would know, it will give you an idea of the function of the behavior. So we look at behaviors two ways in behavior analysis. We look at behavior two ways. We look at the form in which the behavior comes. The form is the way I'm sitting down now. How am I sitting down? When you say that Zusi is sitting, that means she's sitting bottom on the chair, back to the chair back, or what's this called, and her arms on the armrest. I don't have to go through that. Please stop scrolling. It's scaring me. It's making me feel like I don't have time. Thank you. So that is the topography of the behavior, the form in which the behavior comes. Then we then look at the function of that behavior. The function of that behavior is, what does the individual engaging in the behavior, what does that person derive from that behavior? That is very key, because behaviors are not changed, they are replaced. A good example, people that smoke, right? When you try to stop smoking, you know, there's always something that you need to replace that smoking, what you get from smoking, which is nicotine, right? What will give you that feeling without smoking? What would give you the feeling without smoking? So I am hungry. I want to eat, and I'm supposed to be fasting. Or I'm supposed to be watching my weight, right? And I'm so hungry. I will go for something, maybe lighter calories or something else, and not eat the cheeseburger or whatever I wanted to eat. So I'm replacing. We do not, mommies and daddies and teachers and caregivers and all of us right here, we do not change behaviors, we replace behaviors, okay? So when you look at the behavior from the way it comes, and you look at the behavior from the function of the behavior, then and only then can you start working on the behavior that you would see the effects in the behavior. I don't know if that makes sense. Please, let's try to, I don't know, Peace, can you come up and give me some encouragement, please? So now, when we're talking about the functions, we're looking at 4 key functions in applied behavior analysis. There are 4 key functions of behavior. Every behavior is communication, no doubt. every behavior is communication. I'm trying to go through the slides without going through the slides. Eventually, I think I will have a conversation with you, Ms. Makinde, if I can share the slide with you eventually, but let me just go through it without going through it. The 4 functions of behaviors are either the individual is trying to escape something, they're trying to derive something, get something tangible from something. They are trying to, there's the sensory, the automatic behavior, which is the sensory, we call it SEAT, sensory, escape, attention, and tangible. So if you remember SEAT, S-E-A-T. So it's either sensory is automatic. We really talked about a sensory behavior just before now. That was what Ms. Makinde was talking about. A behavior that you really cannot, the child doesn't need a third party. You don't know why the child is doing this, but you know that the child derives something from this behavior. Stimming, for example. Stimming is peculiar with children on the spectrum. However, some children with Down syndrome I have seen stim. And stimming, we all do stim in our own way. Stimming is just a way of calming yourself down. If I'm waiting for, say I'm waiting for someone, I find myself shaking my legs or doing something, or even when I am anxious, I find myself biting my nails, right? That is my form of stimming. Stimming is just what it is, it's sucking. However, I am of the opinion that if it's not affecting the individual, it's not affecting the environment. Yes, sensory, escape, attention, tangible. Yes, sensory, escape, attention, tangible. Yes, please, thank you. If the behavior is not doing anything, like we stim together at the clinic where the center, I stim with the children, I like to fly, because it doesn't do anything to the environment. It's not hurting the environment. However, you just want to teach the child a behavior that is socially appropriate. So what we're thinking of when it comes to behaviors, we're thinking of the individual, we're thinking of the individual's environment. Now you look at the individual, you look at their environment being the home, the school, the religious house they go to, that's their worldview, right? And you then think, what are the behaviors that are necessary for this child or this individual to thrive in this environment? That's how you think of the behaviors that are socially appropriate for the individual. So at home, the individual has siblings. You want them to be able to communicate, to talk, or if not speech, to gestures, to be able to, one way or the other, communicate with their siblings. You want them to be able to have adaptive skills, right? That's another way of looking at behaviors, right? I hope I'm making sense. That's another way of looking at behaviors. I wish I could see faces so I see your expressions as well. So, I can see a face nothing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we've talked about the sensory. We've been talking about the sensory, right? Then we're talking about the escape. Oh my God, escape. Escape is when, of course, the child does not want to do something. They know that thing is coming. They start throwing a tantrum. And I'm just using the word tantrum as, yes, avoidance of tax. Amazing. Thank you so much, ma. I'm just using the word tantrum because what is really is tantrum. You really have to explain it the way it looks. Remember the form, the topography. It can be a child kicking their leg on the floor. It can be a child, screaming, hitting. You really have to know the way it comes. Tantrum can be a form of escape, and that same tantrum can be for attention. So these are where you have the blur. I remember one of the kids at the center, she has Down syndrome. Oh, she would just start spitting. Like when you mean spit, big bubbles of spit from her mouth. I knew that after observing that behavior, and we do this ABC observation, ABC, the antecedents before the behavior. I've not spoken about the consequence because we're still on behavior. I'll talk about the consequence. I knew that that behavior, or I could guess, hypothesis, right? That behavior was for attention. And what did we then put in place? Attention. If the child is spitting, and you start saying, don't spit. I like what the speaker before, Mrs. Makinde, when she said, don't use don't, kind of made a lot of sense to me. When you say, don't spit, it may be giving the child the attention they are looking for. Oh, mommy that has been busy, or teacher that has not called my name since. Now you have a whole 1 minute to talk to me. I'm going to do it again. So that consequence is of two ways. It's either increasing the likelihood of that behavior happening again, or it is reducing the likelihood of that behavior happening again. And when it is increasing, you say, oh, I want my child to keep doing this, engaging in this kind of behavior. You've taught them this behavior. I want my child to keep engaging. Say, I want my child to pass. You've got a lesson teacher, and now the child has passed maybe to a B from D. You would continue because it's working, right? You tell the lesson teacher, come again. But say it's that spitting behavior that this child was emitting at the center. Giving that child that attention would not reduce that behavior. When we all as a team, like even plus the children, decided to ignore, there's something we call planned ignoring. Totally, when she does that, you are not even going to get anything. Even the therapist working with you ignores you. Guess what? And then we're teaching her the appropriate way to ask for attention, because the goal is attention, right? There are different ways to ask for attention. You can come, put your hand on my shoulder. You don't have to speak. You can come show me. You want to talk to your friend, you can go, but spitting is not an appropriate way to get attention. That's why I would say it's replacing. You need to understand the function, then you know how to replace. You see those other behaviors that we taught, those other skills that we taught, they replaced the spitting, and yet they gave her the attention. So that makes sense, right? Then, now we can go to the next slide. Then, for consequence, we're also talking about the positive and the negative. I've pretty much explained the positive. The positive consequence, we're talking about reinforcement and punishment. We're talking about reinforcement and punishment. Yes, I've reinforcement and punishment. What is reinforcement? Reinforcement, think increased behavior. Mommy comes home, mommy has a child, mommy comes home, goes to work, and the child is a toddler. Mommy comes home, the child is happy to see mom and flapping and dancing. Mommy, lift up, baby. How are you, baby? Guess what? Tomorrow, mommy comes back and the baby will do the same thing. That's how the baby will keep doing it, because the baby is deriving the end goal is for mom to carry. If it's cry, the baby will continue to cry for mom to carry. So either you are increasing, or which is reinforcement, or you are reducing, which is punishment. But also in reinforcement, you then have the positive reinforcement and the negative reinforcement. Yes, I would have asked the question like when we talk about reinforcement, but I even only have seconds. Can you imagine? So, so I cannot even ask that. So we're either talking about, let me focus on reinforcements. I really do not like punishments. Positive reinforcement is what you are adding. Think what you're adding. Mommy now, she says, I will use Moye for the other example. Yes, I have a good one. So we're thinking of, we're going to we're going to travel. We're traveling through the airports, getting on the plane, and we have a child that is scared of heights or scared of the plane or something like you use social stories, you tell stories. We even at a point, we've gone as far as going to the airport. Time is up, I know, it's okay, I will still talk. So please, just give me 5 minutes to wrap up, please. Thank you, please. So you're thinking of going to we've gone as far as going to the airport to model the process. We spoke to the officials to model the process just because we know that this would help the behavior. And when at the end of the day, the child traveled smoothly, the child themselves felt like they've accomplished something because they didn't have to throw a tantrum. It wasn't such a bother anymore they could tolerate. Those are positive reinforcements. What happens immediately after the behavior is what is going to affect the behavior the most. A child that's all that you want them to raise up their hand to ask questions. They want them to pick me, ask questions. You would encourage them. You'd say, oh, do you have something to say? Why don't you raise up your hand? And when they do, they ask the question, they feel like, oh, you give them a nice remark. Oh, that was really thoughtful. What you said about that was great. And that is, to that child, gives that child an innate reinforcement that, oh, I've done something. The child would ask a question even when they are not sure next time. That's how you increase the behaviors. So in reducing the behavior, which is very key now, because most of the behaviors we deal with are behaviors of concern that we really just want to reduce. For self-injurious behavior, which is not so common with people on the with Down syndrome, it's not so it's not so common, but it's there, right, Ms. Makinde? I would like to know what you think about that, like the self-injurious behavior across Down syndrome. Is it something that's
so some of it are rigid, repetitive behaviors that they've learned and derive pleasure, but it's painful because we call it self-harming, right? But
yeah.
I think because with Down syndrome, they have a high threshold for pain.
Oh,
they don't see that as painful. They will just enjoy it. So it's just, for me, peeling your skin and I'm seeing the pink.
So it's something that's quite common, right?
So it's a rigid, it is if the individual with Down syndrome develops a rigid, repetitive behavior, that's wise, that you can see that is self-harming.
Yes.
Because anybody can peel, even we adults peel our wound, we peel our skin.
Oh, yes.
Understand? Yes. We won't stop until we see the blood, then we'll say, oh, we know it's painful. They don't understand that it is painful.
Yes.
For instance, this is not a self-harming behavior, and I'm talking about people with Down syndrome. A few of them that I met, that I see, the similarity I see is that they have boils. When my daughter was a toddler, she doesn't sit in a place. She was very hyper. I can categorize her under the terrible twos and say, because she's still growing, she's a toddler. Because when she was 4, I was still seeing behaviors of age 1 and age 2-year-old, even at age 4 and age 5. And that's because of the delayed milestone, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do get that.
But she was hyperactive, going up and down, not sitting in a place. And this girl has big fat boils in her bum that would not make her sit. So is it the boil that's not making her sit, or is it the hyperactivity? Or is it part of having Down syndrome?
Yeah, so
because she has ADHD, and that can go away amazingly, and something else will come. So for me, I always, as they grow,
that's why we always work on the behavior we see.
Even the speaker, the first speaker that our daughter has worked in fantastic. We've worked with fantastic organizations in the US. She says she has not shared her struggles. So for me, all these conditions, they come with, they have their packages. They come with the challenges.
Yes,
So it's for
absolutely.
you to identify the one that you can manage, the one that you can replace. Because I talked about replacing behavior. You can't take away those behaviors. You have to replace them.
Absolutely, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
for somebody, and I have not found the solution yet as to
So,
why you have because I have seen many young children with autism. I work with young children with autism with wounds. And when I say
there's
wounds, I mean
something,
wound.
yeah, there's something we call
Wounds.
hypersensitivity, ma. I'm sure you, and
Yeah,
hypo.
yes.
Those ones
So
that they rightfully don't, their threshold for pain, they don't
they're
even feel. Then you see them bleeding and you're wondering, where
they're
did it
hypo.
hurt?
They have hyposensitivity.
Yes,
They're
they have
hypo.
hypo, so their threshold is really high. So
Yes.
thank
So
you. Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you so much, ma. Thank you. Don't add that to my 5 minutes. It was Mrs. Makinde that was talking.
You just
So,
cheated.
oh my God. Thank you so much, ma.
Someone has a question.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. So the
Question is,
comments.
every individual I have worked with have their own peculiarities. My strategy is to constantly observe and try to figure out how to address each issue.
Absolutely.
Yes, every behavior at a point in time. That's why you really have to look at the individual too. Look at the person as a person, not just, oh, this is a treatment plan that will work across. There's no tailor size that fits all. You really have to look at the person and then the behavior as well as the age. What's the word now? Like, is it age appropriate?
Age
This
appropriate.
brings me back to Moi, when you say when you say she screams when you come to her space. That's a typical teenage behavior, man. You know the teenagers, they just want their space. They don't want when the brain, there's so many activities going on in the brain. 1 minute they like mommy, the next minute they don't like you. They don't even like themselves.
So we've not even talked a lot about behaviors in Down syndrome, especially self-talk. Self-talk is another whole topic on its own. And as long as it is not affecting their day-to-day activity, it's okay. But like I said, when I was talking, there is a thin line between mental health and learning disability. And we have to accept it.
There is.
We have to accept. And it's just like saying, we too as adults, we do self-talk. Do you understand?
And I hear that it's one of the attributes of very intelligent people.
Yeah, so
that's what research is saying. But
yeah, this is common. It's very
common
in Down syndrome.
Between talking to yourself and then there's a thin line.
Another thing, sorry, I just want to mention before we stop now, sorry, is repeating the same song, watching the same movies, repeating the same songs, rewinding the same song.
Yes.
If you notice that, just pay attention.
Yes. What we call scrolling, and there's what we call scripting. Scripting is even when they say the thing over and over and over again. Scrolling is in the head, like it's something that they want to see over and over. They just like that particular thing. You just like that particular. So what we do in that regards, I have not said what we do about self-injurious behaviors, which I want to really say. We do not even start with drawing up a plan. We directly face the behavior, especially when the behavior is very harmful. When it's there's no replacement sometimes for self-injurious behavior. It's either going to go, it's just because you don't want your child hurting their head, banging their head, getting wounds and all that. No, you don't. We don't do that. We just want to be.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You asked me a question. I've not even answered that question.
Thank you, Ma. We're running out of time.
Thank you so much. I wish
had
we
a
had more
really
time for
engaging
you. I wish
time.
we had more
Thank
time.
you so much. Thank you so much. We'll have you again because you're such a box of the wisdom is It's plenty. Thank you so much, Mrs. Susie. It was an honor to have you join us on this conversation. Please, a round of applause for Mrs. Susie. Thank you for coming. I'd like you to just put in the chat room how the session was for you. It was explosive for me. It was impactful. The question and answer was really, I didn't even need to ask any question. They were answering me from the conversation. So thank you so much, Ma. We're honored to have you join us. We just need to get our closing remark from Mrs. Tola Makinde. But before then, I think Mrs. Roslyn, she was the first speaker. I think she has something to say. So in 3 minutes, Mrs. Roslyn Adekunle, kindly unmute and let's have your thoughts.
Sorry.
Okay, someone.
Okay. Am I okay to talk now?
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Sorry, I was driving. I was in transit, so I was trying to figure out then. Yeah, when Miss Makinde was talking about the tearing of clothes and all that, it might be related to autistic behavior. Yes, because we already know some Down syndrome might have that. But just want to share that. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish all my struggles. That Tolani patient you see is not an angel, okay? If I had shown you a room, you would have seen some stuff, all right? The ST is what we call the social worker here, just went upstairs and, it's not easy. What she does is she tears tissues. Tissues is a problem. The bathroom tissues. She will go to the bathroom, stay there for hours and tears and tears and tears. So there was a time I said we'll all be using water. So they all have their behavioral stuff that they deal with. Then she talks to herself. She talks to herself too, and she does that self-injurious behavior. She peels her lips. If you see her lips are pink, I see her friends on TikTok says, "Oh, I like the pink lips." I'm like, if only they know my struggle. No, she peeled those lips pink. Okay, it's a self-injurious behavior that God just made her to look beautiful. She picked them. She will start picking them at church when she's bored. That's what she does. She start picking and picking and picking. So yes, is that autistic behavior? No, she's not autistic. She's been checked time and time over. She's been interviewed by, because I thought she had OCD at one time, but they didn't find anything. I even put her in therapy. They had to discharge her. So they do have their behaviors. We have to not think, oh, all the time they are calm. No, they do have their behaviors. We just have to deal with some behaviors, and sometimes we can try to redirect them. At 25 years old now, sometimes I feel like he just tells me, Mom, I'm an adult. So whatever I can direct, I direct. If it's not harming her, I just leave her alone.
Much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma. Please, a round of applause. Please, I want us to just give a resounding applause to every speaker that graced our virtual stage today. They all had something very impactful to deliver to us. And for me personally, I love the fact that I get to connect with them. I'm not a mother yet, but I get to connect with a mother trying to support her child with disability, and even as a carer too. Yeah, so a round of applause. Thank you so much, everyone. We're grateful. I'm passing the baton on to the executive director for her closing remark, Mrs. Tola Makinde. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. It was an explosive session. I'm so grateful. Thank you all for registering. For everyone I just called and they just answered, I want to say a big thank you, because honestly, there's no person that can do this alone. Honestly, we need this kind of partnerships, this kind of collaboration. We need it to keep, to be ongoing, honestly, because that is the way we can learn, relearn and unlearn, share knowledge and everything, like support one another, both the carers, the educators, the parents, even young carers. Young carers, by young carers, I mean siblings of people with these special abilities. Okay, Morimbo is 10. We clocked 10 in August. It's an amazing work we've been doing, and I'm so grateful for my team for the work they've been doing as well. And for some people here that I've known over some years, I want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you, Mrs. Adekunle. I really appreciate you. She's been an amazing big sis, and I always want to connect with parents. Thank you, Nadi. Educators as well. I know sometimes you're not even wearing the shoes, but you're wearing the shoes. I know I don't know if you get what I mean. For parents as well, thank you for holding on tight. It's not over until it's over. I want you to just continue to dream. Because your child has a life, has dreams. How do you help your child make those dreams come true? Is what you should think about. That was how we mentioned about skills as well, creativity. Just get on with your child. Do what you can do. Support your child as much as you can. And we have an example of one of the pupils that was with Mo Rainbow. He started with us when he was, I think that was like 8 years ago, and today he's a star. If you can follow us on our Instagram, we've been sharing some stories just to give people hope. We recently made him a staff, and he's multi-talented. He can make shoes. He learned to make shoes. He learned to barb. He learned to bake. He learned to cook. He learned to, can't remember. That's him. So this is Ope and his mom. Let's see if we can listen. We just employed him effective this month. He's just been hands-on. Guy has been hands-on. Like, he makes photocopies. I remember my daughter too used to make photocopies. So he's an office assistant, he's a support worker, he's in the kitchen, he's with the younger students, he's teaching them, he's guiding them. I'm so grateful to God that we're able to get to this point, with Okpe. And there are many more like that we're still, and with early intervention, trust me, our children will do better. So that's Okpe's story. And we've kept pictures. We didn't even know we'll be doing this, Honestly, it's just as everything comes to heart and how God lays it on our hearts. So definitely I'm asking for anyone that feels that they want to support us. Running a not-for-profit is not a walk in the park at all. It's not an easy journey, right? So if you feel that you love what we're doing and we want to do more of this, like hold another conference, just keep meeting, keep talking to parents, keep collaborating. That's the only way. Like Okpe's mom is not even educated. We have lots of parents like that are not even educated. Like, you get what I mean? They're not educated at all, and they have those children. There's some of them we've gone to the grassroots to, visit, and we saw they were not even in schools. We adopted them. They've been in schools, they have changed. Their lives have transformed. And that's what we want to do. I think that's what we should do as human beings, actually.
It was.
Can we play Okpe's video? It wasn't playing, right? Anyway, please follow our social media. You see everything there.
7 a.m.
Can also follow me to see how I've been talking about, what I've been talking about. Sometimes I invite people for us to go on IG lives just to enlighten our community, because that is
what time did you guys sleep yesterday?
Same community, I got that. Same community, our children are going to live and thrive in. So I think they've shared the links there. Please.
Yeah. She slept.
Supports. She's like, supports Okpe has got a life to live. He's got dreams and aspirations. He dances. He has said he wants to meet Davido. He said he wants to meet Davido. I don't know how that's going to be possible. But Okpe, honestly, please show the picture again.
I think I saw him at the gala, Down syndrome gala. I don't know if that was him that was singing. No, that wasn't. Looked so much like him. And that's another very talented young man, amazing man.
So
Wow.
we have some donation links there as well if you want to. Okay, I don't think the video can play, but that's Okpe and his mom. And he's such a happy boy. He's 20. How old is he now? We can't hear. So that's it. Okay, so thank you, everybody. We've come to the end of this wonderful. It's 24. Okpa is 24. I think Okpa joined us when he was 16 or 17. I can't remember. So we've come to the end of this. Once again, I celebrate everyone's tenacity. I cannot say he joined when he was 16. Thank you. I cannot say I did this alone. I can never do anything alone. So thank you, everybody, for coming. If I had an empty space here, I mean, if this Zoom link was not this full, I would just be talking to the computer, and it's not meant to be, so let's continue to show up. That's one thing I want us to continue to do. Continue to show up. I think things are going to I'm not saying things are going to, I'm not saying things will not get better or things are going to get better, but just continue to show up, be your authentic self, be happy. There are times I want to cry. My daughter has just had her 5th surgery. Like watching your child go into the theater, first time, second time, fourth time, fifth time, for me, according to research now, with Down syndrome, just continue to treat what is treatable because now they are living longer, and I see that she's going to go to college, she's going to have a relationship. So we are teaching that, how to keep relationships. And with what Mrs. Rosalind's just said, our daughter at 25 still tears. If I show you pictures of bottles, and the one that annoys me is I've trashed that shampoo bottle in the bin because it's empty. The next thing I will see the shampoo bottle again in the bathroom. So I don't even stress again. There was a day I thought there was a spirit. I just remember, I have a daughter. She's probably the one that just took it from the bin and put it back there. So what do? I just make sure I trash it in the bigger trash that she can't get to. But she still has her ways. She hoards and collects bottles. And she says she wants to flip. She sees what this bottle flipping challenge that people do. She sees. So our children see. They see. But she wants to just do her own alone. She wants to play alone, stuff alone. So just continue to show them, show them what you want them to know, and they'll keep learning. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. Please a round of applause for yourselves for sitting through the whole session. We started
Thank you
at
so
12
much, Ma.
p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very
We'll
much.
do this again. Please keep following us, supporting the work we do. Support Mrs. Ose Susie, Mrs. Roslyn, Mrs. Bridget, also, and Nadi. We'll post excerpts from today's session and we'll tag them as well so you can easily follow them. Thank you so much, everyone. Every participant, you all are the real MVP. So a wonderful afternoon to everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That's okay. Oh, I can't see here. What was he singing?
We're singing Davido song.
Okay. That's fantastic. All right. Thank you, everybody. Wow, awesome session.
Oh.
This was 3 years ago, thereabouts.